Facing a midlife crisis? Find courage in everyday women's stories. Subscribe to Resilient Women Rising.
How a 52-year-old divorced woman discovered a new life and unexpected romance abroad. Jennifer stared at the letter in her hands, her heart pounding. The envelope was worn, its edges frayed from its long journey across the Atlantic. But the handwriting, elegant, looping, and achingly familiar, sent a chill down her spine. She hadn't seen it in decades, yet she recognized it instantly. Marco. The name alone stirred memories she had long buried sun-drenched afternoons in Tuscany. The scent of oil paint and wild lavender, and a love that had once been as vibrant as the colors on her canvas. But that was a lifetime ago, before marriage, before divorce, before she'd chosen the safety of a predictable life. Now, at 52, Jennifer felt adrift. Divorced, recently laid off from her job, she often wondered if the best years of her life were behind her. She traced the wax seal with her finger, hesitating. What could Marco possibly have to say after all these years? With a deep breath, she broke the seal and unfolded the letter. Dear Jennifer, I hope this letter finds you well. It has been many years since we last spoke, but I write to you now with an invitation, one that I believe will speak to the artist's soul that once lived within you, and perhaps still does. I am hosting a special art workshop at my villa in Tuscany, a place where artists come to rediscover their passion and create something truly extraordinary. I remember the fire that burned in your work, Jennifer, and I believe this could be the chance to reignite it. Consider this a gift, a second chance. Come to Italy. Let the beauty here remind you of who you are. With hope, Marco. Jennifer's hands trembled as she set the letter down. Italy. The word alone conjured images of rolling hills, golden sunlight, and the vibrant life she had once dreamed of. But that dream had been folded away, tucked into the attic of her suburban home, along with her old brushes, gathering dust. After her divorce, she had thrown herself into her work as an art teacher, but even that had been taken from her when the school downsized. Now her days were filled with nothing but time and regret. And yet, here was Marco, offering her a lifeline, a chance to leave it all behind and start anew. But could she? Could she really walk away from everything to chase a dream she had abandoned so long ago? The question haunted her as she wandered through her silent house. The walls were lined with her old paintings, landscapes, and portraits that had once been full of life. Now they felt like relics of a past she could never reclaim. She paused in front of an unfinished canvas, one she had abandoned years ago. The colors were still vivid, but the image was incomplete, like her own story. Her gaze drifted back to the letter. A second chance. The words echoed in her mind, stirring a longing she had ignored for too long. Maybe this was her opportunity to finish what she had started, not just the painting, but her life. Before she could second-guess herself, Jennifer picked up her phone and booked a flight to Italy. The moment the plane touched down in Florence, the air hit her like a wave of forgotten memories. The scent of espresso, the distant hum of Vespas, the warmth of the sun on her skin, it was as if she had stepped back in time. Excitement fluttered in her chest, but so did fear. What if she no longer belonged here? What if the magic she had once felt was gone? The drive to the villa was a blur of breathtaking scenery, winding roads lined with cypress trees, vineyards stretching to the horizon, and the villa's terracotta roof glowing in the late afternoon light. It was almost too beautiful, and for the first time in years, Jennifer felt a spark of inspiration. When she arrived, the villa was even more stunning than she had imagined. Ivy clung to the stone walls, and the courtyard was alive with the sound of laughter and clinking wine glasses. Artists from around the world mingled, their easels and canvases scattered about. It was a scene from a dream, but Jennifer couldn't shake the feeling that she was an imposter. Jennifer, a warm, rich voice called out, as bright as the Tuscan sun itself. She turned to see Marco striding toward her, his smile wide and welcoming. He had aged silver threaded through his hair, but his eyes still held that same mischievous spark. When he pulled her into a hug, Jennifer felt for a fleeting moment as if no time had passed at all. It's been too long, Marco said, stepping back to look at her. You've changed. But not entirely. Jennifer laughed, though it sounded hollow even to her. You mean I've aged? You've grown wiser, he corrected, studying her face. And perhaps a little lost. But that's why you're here, isn't it? She nodded, unable to find the words. Marco had always seen through her, understanding her in a way no one else ever had. It was both comforting and unnerving. Come, he said, leading her into the villa. Let me show you around. We've got workshops, painting sessions, and of course, plenty of wine planned for the week. As they toured the villa, Marco introduced her to the other artists, a diverse group of men and women, each with their own stories of struggle and triumph. But one woman stood out sharp-featured, with a confident stride. She looked younger than Jennifer, perhaps in her late 30s. Her paintings were bold, abstract, and raw with emotion. That's Isabella, Marco whispered. One of our most promising artists, a bit competitive, but a genius. Jennifer watched as Isabella critiqued another artist's work, her words sharp but insightful. There was something familiar about her, but Jennifer couldn't place it. As the day wore on, Jennifer began to settle into the rhythm of the workshop. She attended a session on color theory, sketched the villa's gardens, and even started outlining a new painting. For the first time in years, she felt alive, as if the weight of her past was slowly lifting. But that night, as she wandered the villa's corridors, she overheard a conversation that made her blood run cold. Are you sure it's safe? It was Isabella, her voice low and urgent. Of course, a man's gruff voice replied. No one will notice. The workshop is the perfect cover. By the time they realize what's happening, we'll be long gone. Jennifer's heart raced. She pressed herself against the wall, straining to hear more. And the paintings? Isabella asked. They're authentic? Every single one, the man said. Worth millions. We just need to get them out of the country. Jennifer's head spun. What were they talking about? Was the workshop a front for something illegal? And did Marco know? She crept back to her room, her mind racing. She had come to Italy for a second chance, but now it seemed she had walked into a danger she never could have imagined. Jennifer couldn't shake the unease that had settled over her like a shadow. The villa in Tuscany, with its rolling vineyards and golden sunlight, had promised a fresh start, a chance to rediscover her passion for art. But ever since she overheard Isabella's hushed conversation about paintings worth millions, the beauty of this place felt like a fragile facade, hiding something darker. Determined to uncover the truth, Jennifer began watching Isabella more closely. The younger artist was subtle but suspicious. She made secretive phone calls in the garden, disappeared from her room at odd hours, and seemed overly protective of certain corners of the villa. Whenever Jennifer tried to chat with her, Isabella's responses were polite but clipped, her smile tight and unconvincing. One afternoon, after a painting session that left her restless, Jennifer sought out Marco. She found him in the villa's library, surrounded by sketches and the faint scent of turpentine. His presence, steady, familiar, always grounded her, even now. Marco, can we talk? She asked, her voice softer than she intended. He looked up from his work, his hazel eyes crinkling with a warm smile. Always, Jen. What's going on? She took a deep breath, steeling herself. I think something strange is happening here. The other night, I overheard Isabella talking to a man. They mentioned paintings, valuable ones, and using the workshop as a cover to move them. It sounded like they're smuggling art. Marco's smile faded, replaced by a furrow of concern. Smuggling? That's a big leap, Jen. Are you sure you didn't mishear? I'm positive, she said, her frustration bubbling up. They talked about millions of dollars and how the workshop was the perfect front. I didn't imagine it. He leaned back, running a hand through his silver-streaked hair. Isabella's intense, I'll give you that. But smuggling? I've known her for months. She's ambitious, not criminal. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. Jennifer's chest tightened. She'd hoped Marco would trust her instincts, but his doubt made her feel small, like an outsider again. Maybe, she mumbled, though she didn't believe it. But if it's true, it could destroy everything you've built here. Don't you think we should check? Marco sighed, then reached across the table to squeeze her hand. His touch was warm, reassuring. I'll keep an eye out, okay? I trust you. Jen, I just don't want us jumping to conclusions. Focus on your art for now. That's why you're here. She nodded, forcing a smile. But as she left the library, her resolve hardened. Marco might not see it yet, but she couldn't ignore what she'd heard. That evening, Jennifer sat alone in the villa's cozy kitchen, sipping tea and replaying the conversation in her mind. The terracotta tiles and lingering scent of rosemary should have been comforting, but her thoughts were a tangle of worry. "Mind if I join you?" a voice asked. Jennifer glanced up to see Sophia, a fellow artist in her 30s with dark hair and kind eyes. They'd spoken briefly before, but never at length. "Please," Jennifer said, gesturing to the empty chair. Sophia settled in with her own cup, studying Jennifer with quiet curiosity. "You look troubled. Everything okay?" After a moment's hesitation, Jennifer decided to trust her. She poured out the story, the overheard conversation, her talk with Marco, and the growing suspicion she couldn't shake. Sophia listened intently, her expression shifting from concern to determination. "That sounds serious," Sophia said when Jennifer finished. "And Marco didn't believe you?" "He thinks I got it wrong," Jennifer replied, her voice tinged with frustration. "But I know what I heard." Sophia nodded. "I've noticed Isabella acting odd too, sneaking off during breaks, guarding her stuff like it's gold. Maybe we can figure this out together." Relief flooded Jennifer. "I'd really appreciate that, Sophia. Thank you." Over the next few days, Jennifer and Sophia became partners in quiet observation. They tracked Isabella's movements, sharing whispered theories over coffee or late-night sketches. One evening, as the sun sank below the horizon, casting the vineyards in a fiery glow, they followed Isabella to an old stone barn on the villa's edge. Crouching behind a row of olive trees, they watched as Isabella met the same man Jennifer had seen before. Their exchange was quick, tense words, and a small package passed between them before the man slipped away. Isabella lingered, glancing around nervously, then entered the barn. "Now's our chance," Sophia whispered. "Let's see what's inside." Heart racing, Jennifer followed Sophia to the barn. The door creaked open just enough for them to slip through. Inside, the air was thick with dust and the smell of old wood. Crates and canvases lined the walls, but a locked door at the back drew their attention. Sophia pointed to a small, grimy window near the ceiling. Up there, they dragged a crate beneath it and climbed up, peering into the locked room. Jennifer's breath caught. Dozens of paintings filled the space, some wrapped, others exposed, their gilded frames catching the faint light. They were breathtaking, clearly valuable. But one canvas propped against the wall stopped her cold. It was Hersa landscape she'd painted years ago, during her last summer with Marco. The rolling hills, the soft blues and gold sit was unmistakable. She'd left it behind when she abandoned her art, assuming it was lost forever. "That's mine," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I painted that." Sophia's eyes widened. "You're sure?" "Absolutely," Jennifer said, her mind reeling. "But how did it get here?" Before they could unravel the mystery, footsteps crunched outside. Panic surged as they scrambled down and ducked behind a stack of empty frames. The barn door creaked open, and Isabella stepped inside, her face pale and drawn. She scanned the room, her gaze lingering on the locked door, then muttered something under her breath and left, locking the barn behind her. Jennifer and Sophia stayed silent, barely breathing, until the night swallowed Isabella's footsteps. "Too close," Sophia murmured, her voice shaky. Jennifer nodded, but her thoughts were on that painting. Why was it here, hidden with stolen art? Was it a coincidence or something more? "We have to tell Marco," Sophia said firmly. "This is bigger than we thought." Jennifer hesitated. "I tried. He didn't believe me." "What if he's involved somehow?" Sophia frowned. "You think he'd let this happen under his nose?" "I don't know," Jennifer admitted. "But I don't know who to trust anymore." Sophia squeezed her arm. "Then we'll find help. There's a retired police officer in the village. My cousin knows him. He might know what to do." Jennifer agreed, though doubt lingered as they slipped back to the villa under the cover of darkness. Later, in her room, Jennifer lay awake, the day's events swirling in her mind. Seeing her painting had cracked something open inside her, a longing for the artist she used to be, bold and unafraid. She'd come to Italy for a second chance, and now that chance was tangled in a dangerous mystery. But amid the fear, there was a spark of determination. Whatever was happening, she wouldn't let it destroy the workshop or the fragile hope she'd found here. Not without a fight. The Tuscan sun blazed overhead as Jennifer and Sophia trekked through the village, the cobblestone streets cool beneath their feet despite the midday heat. Their destination was a modest house on the outskirts, home to Luca, a retired police officer Sophia swore could help. The locals spoke his name with a curious mix of reverence and caution, which only tightened the knot of unease in Jennifer's chest. If their suspicions about the art smuggling were correct, Luca might be their key to unraveling the truth. But if they were wrong, they could unravel everything Marco had worked so hard to build. They knocked, and after a tense wait, the door groaned open. Luca was a wiry man in his late 60s, his sharp gray eyes peering out from a face etched with decades of hard-earned wisdom. Sophia launched into their story. The strange sounds from the barn, the locked room, the glimpse of Jennifer's painting among the others. Jennifer chimed in, her voice steady despite her racing pulse. Luca listened, leaning back in a creaky wooden chair, his fingers drumming against his chin. Art smuggling's a serious accusation, he rasped, his tone rough as gravel. The villa's workshop has been a cornerstone here for years. Marco's a good man, everyone says so. You're sure you didn't mistake what you saw? Jennifer bristled. I know my own work. That painting was mine, locked up with the rest. It's not a mistake. Luca's eyes narrowed. Yours, you say? How'd it end up there? I don't know, Jennifer admitted, frustration creeping into her words. That's why we're here. A heavy silence settled over the room. Finally, Luca sighed. I'll poke around, but I need proof photos, papers, something solid. Without it, I can't take this to the authorities. My hands are tied. Jennifer exchanged a look with Sophia. Proof meant returning to the barn a dangerous prospect, with Isabella already suspicious. But they had no other option. As they stepped outside, Sophia gripped Jennifer's arm. We'll sort this out, Jen, one step at a time. Jennifer nodded, but a seed of doubt took root. Luca's hesitation felt off, like he was guarding a secret of his own. Could they trust him? Or was he tied to the villa in ways they hadn't yet uncovered? Back at the villa, the clock seemed to tick louder with every passing hour. The workshop hummed with its usual rhythm, but Jennifer couldn't shake the urgency gnawing at her. If Isabella was planning to move those paintings, their window was closing. Before she could plot their next move, though, she needed answers from Marco about her painting, about the smuggling, about where they stood. She found him in the courtyard, sketching the golden afternoon light as it danced through the olive trees. His face brightened when he saw her, but her expression remained taut. Marco, we need to talk, she said, her tone leaving no room for deflection. He set his sketchbook aside, worry clouding his dark eyes. What's going on? Jennifer inhaled deeply. I saw my painting in the barn, the one I left behind years ago. It's locked up with others, ones that don't belong here. How did it get there? Marco's brow furrowed, then widened in shock. Your painting? Jen, I kept it after you left. I couldn't let it go. It was all I had left of you. I stored it in the attic, not the barn. I don't know how it ended up there. Then explain this, she pressed. Isabella's smuggling art through the workshop. My painting's part of it, and I need to know if you're involved. Marco shot to his feet, his face draining of color. Jen, no, I swear I had no idea. I've poured everything into this place. If Isabella's doing this, she's betrayed me too. You have to believe me. His voice cracked, raw with emotion, and Jennifer glimpsed the man beneath the artist, the one who'd once held her heart. She wanted to trust him, but doubt lingered like a shadow. Then prove it, she said. Sophia and I are going back to the barn tonight for evidence. If we get photos, Luca can take it to the police. Come with us. Marco hesitated, then nodded. I'm in. If she's ruining what I built, I need to see it with my own eyes. Night cloaked the villa in stillness as Jennifer, Sophia, and Marco slipped toward the barn. The air buzzed with tension, every snapped twig amplifying their nerves. Marco clutched a small camera, his hands steady despite the fear flickering in his gaze. They reached the barn and eased inside, shadows swallowing their footsteps. Marco knelt by the locked room's door, producing a thin tool Jennifer hadn't expected him to wield. With a deft twist, the lock clicked open, a skill he'd never mentioned. The door swung wide, revealing the painting's masterpieces in gilded frames, and among them, Jennifer's landscape, its colors vivid even in the dim light. Marco's breath hitched. These are worth fortunism from private collections. How did they get here? Sophia pointed to a table stacked with papers. Jennifer rifled through them shipping manifests, detailing plans to smuggle the art overseas. The workshop's name plastered across each page as a cover. Marco's dream twisted into a lie. He sank against the wall, clutching a manifest. She's been using this place, and I didn't see it. Jennifer's heart twisted. She touched his arm, her voice soft. It's not your fault, Marco. She deceived us all. Sophia snapped photos, her movements brisk. We've got enough. Let's go now. They hurried out, the evidence heavy in their hands. As they neared the villa, Marco stopped Jennifer, his touch lingering. Jen, wait, he murmured. About your painting, I kept it because it was used. I never stopped hoping you'd come back. Not just for it, but for what we had. When you left, I thought I'd lost you for good. Now you're here and I can't lose you again. Jennifer's pulse raced. She'd buried those feelings long ago. But here, beneath the starlit sky, they roared back to life. Marco, a noise cut her off. They spun to see Isabella stepping from the barn's shadows, her face a mask of rage. What are you doing here? She snarled, her eyes darting between them. Jennifer froze. They'd been caught. Isabella's eyes blazed with fury as she stepped closer, her voice cutting through the tense air. What are you doing here? This is private property. Jennifer's heart pounded, but she held her ground, gripping the camera tightly. We know about the smuggling, Isabella. The paintings, the manifests, it's all here. You've been using the workshop as a cover to move stolen art. Isabella's expression twisted briefly before she masked her shock with a cold laugh. You think you figured it all out, don't you? You're wrong. These paintings are legitimate, they're part of a private collection. You're trespassing and making wild accusations. Marco stepped forward, his voice calm but laced with hurt. I saw the manifest, Isabella. My name, me workshop is all over them. You've been using my life's work to smuggle art. Why? For a fleeting moment, Isabella's guard slipped, her eyes flickering toward the barn. It wasn't supposed to go this far, she muttered, almost to herself. Then her gaze hardened. You don't understand. The art world is ruthless, talent isn't enough. I needed connections, resources. This was my way in. Jennifer shook her head, disgust rising within her. So you stole from others, from Marco? Isabella sneered. You're one to talk. You abandoned your art years ago, left it to rot. What do you know about sacrifice? The words hit hard, but Jennifer stood tall. I know enough to see when someone's lost their way. You had a gift, Isabella, but you've twisted it into something ugly. Before Isabella could snap back, Sophia intervened, her phone already in hand. The police are on their way. It's over. Isabella's bravado crumbled, her shoulders slumping as the reality sank in. She turned to Marco, her voice pleading. I didn't mean for it to hurt you. I wanted to be someone. Marco's face softened, but his tone remained resolute. You were already someone, Isabella. But this isn't the way. The faint sound of sirens grew louder, cutting through the night. Isabella's defiance faded entirely, and she sank to the ground, burying her face in her hands. Jennifer glanced at Marco, a shared look of relief and sorrow passing between them. The workshop would endure, but the betrayal had left its mark. In the days that followed, the villa hummed with a new rhythm. The police investigation moved quickly, unraveling the smuggling operation and confirming Isabella's role. The stolen paintings were recovered, including Jennifer's, which Marco returned to her with a quiet apology one evening on the villa's terrace. I should have known, he said, staring out at the vineyards as the sun dipped below the horizon. I was so caught up in the art, in the dream, that I missed what was right in front of me. Jennifer reached for his hand, her touch warm and steady. You couldn't have known. She fooled everyone, but the workshop will recover, you'll rebuild. And I'll be here to help if you'll let me. Marco's eyes met hers, a flicker of hope lighting up his gaze. You're staying? She smiled, a sense of peace settling over her. I came here for a second chance, Marco. Not just for my art, but for myself. And maybe for us. He squeezed her hand, his voice thick with feeling. I never stopped loving you, Jen. Even after all these years. I thought I'd lost you forever. Jennifer leaned in, her forehead resting against his. You didn't lose me. I just took the long way back. Their lips met in a kiss soft, tentative, and brimming with promise. It was a kiss that carried forgiveness, healing, and the whisper of a future they'd both thought was out of reach. The workshop's final days were a whirlwind of creation. With Isabella gone, the artists banded together, their shared struggle infusing their work with fresh meaning. Jennifer dove into her painting, the colors spilling from her brush with a freedom she hadn't known in years. Her once abandoned landscape was finally finished, its vibrant golds and deep blues, a reflection of her rediscovered spirit. On the last night, the villa hosted a modest exhibition. Jennifer's painting hung among the others, earning quiet praise from the small crowd. But as she stood there, she knew the real masterpiece wasn't on the wall, it was the life she'd reclaimed. Later, under the olive trees, Marco found her, the moonlight bathing the courtyard in a silver glow. He slipped an arm around her waist, drawing her close. "What now?" he asked, his voice a soft murmur. Jennifer smiled, resting her head on his shoulder. "Now we start again. Together." And beneath the Tuscan stars, Jennifer felt it fully. She had found not just her art, but her heart's true home. The Tuscan dawn painted the villa in soft pinks and golds, a quiet promise of renewal after the storm of the past weeks. Jennifer stood at her easel in the garden, her brush gliding across a fresh canvas. Each stroke felt like a reclamation, not just of her art, but of the woman she had buried beneath years of doubt and compromise. The smuggling scandal had shaken the workshop to its core, but it had also awakened something fierce within her, a determination to live boldly, no matter what came next. Yet, even as she painted, a nagging question lingered. The investigation had wrapped up. Isabella was awaiting trial, and the stolen paintings had been returned to their rightful owners. But one piece of the puzzle remained unsolved. How had her painting ended up in the barn's locked room in the first place? Marco had sworn he'd stored it in the attic, untouched for decades. The discrepancy gnawed at her, a loose thread in an otherwise tidy resolution. She set her brush down and glanced toward the villa, where Marco was organizing the day's workshops. Their rekindled connection had grown stronger since their kiss under the stars, but it was still fragile, built on memories as much as hope. She trusted him or wanted to, but the mystery of her painting felt like a final test of that trust. That afternoon, Jennifer sought out Sophia, who had become a steadfast friend through the chaos. They sat in the villa's kitchen, sunlight streaming through the windows, a plate of biscotti untouched between them. "I can't let it go," Jennifer admitted, tracing the rim of her coffee cup. "My painting wasn't supposed to be in that barn. Marco says he didn't move it, but someone did. I need to know who and why." Sophia's brow furrowed, her dark eyes thoughtful. "You think there's more to the story?" "Maybe," Jennifer said, "or maybe I'm just afraid to let go of the past. But I can't move forward until I'm sure." Sophia nodded, her resolve matching Jennifer's. "Then let's dig deeper. Luca might have answers. He was cagey when we met him. Maybe he knows something he didn't share." They tracked Luca down at his usual haunt, a small cafe in the village square. The retired officer sat alone, nursing an espresso, his sharp gaze softening as they approached. "Back so soon?" he asked, a wry smile tugging at his lips. "I thought you'd be painting masterpieces by now." Jennifer didn't waste time. "Luca, my painting, the one in the barn. It wasn't supposed to be there. Marco said it was in the attic. Do you know how it ended up with the stolen art?" Luca's smile faded, and he leaned back, studying her with a mix of caution and respect. After a long pause, he sighed. "I wondered when you'd ask. You're sharper than most, Jennifer." Her pulse quickened. "What does that mean?" He lowered his voice, glancing around the cafe. "Your painting wasn't part of the smuggling ring, at least. Not originally. Isabella didn't know it was yours. Someone else moved it to the barn, hoping it'd get swept up with the others." "Who?" Jennifer pressed, dread pooling in her stomach. Luca hesitated, then met her eyes. "Marco's assistant, Paolo. He's been with the villa for years, quiet but greedy. He saw a chance to make extra cash by slipping your painting into the shipment, figured no one would notice an old canvas. When I questioned him during the investigation, he confessed. Didn't tell Marco, though didn't want to break his trust." Jennifer's breath caught. Paolo, a man she'd barely noticed, always hovering in the background with his clipboard and polite nods. The betrayal stung, but it wasn't Marco's doing. Relief and anger warred within her. "Why didn't you tell us?" Sophia demanded. Luca shrugged. Paolo's small fry. The real target was Isabella and her network. I let him go with a warning, lost his job, of course. Didn't see the point in stirring up more trouble for Marco. Jennifer clenched her fists, the truth settling like a weight lifted. Marco hadn't lied. Her painting's presence was a cruel twist of fate, not a betrayal. That evening, Jennifer found Marco in the villa's attic, sorting through old canvases. Dust motes danced in the fading light, and the air smelled of aged wood and memories. She told him everything: Luca's revelation, Paolo's deceit, and her own lingering fears. Marco listened, his face a canvas of regret and resolve. "I should have checked the attic myself," he said, his voice heavy. "I trusted Paolo too much, it seems. I'm so sorry, Jen. If I'd known..." She touched his arm, silencing him. "It's not your fault. You've been honest with me, and that's what matters. I was scared to trust it again, but I'm learning. Because of you." Marco's eyes softened, and he pulled her close, his embrace warm and steady. "You're the bravest person I know, Jen. You came here, faced all this, and still found your way back to your art, Toa." She laughed softly, resting her head against his chest. "I had help." They stood there, wrapped in the quiet of the attic, the past finally at rest. The workshop's final exhibition was a triumph, drawing a crowd from the village and beyond. Jennifer's completed landscape hung at the center, its vibrant colors a testament to her resilience. As she mingled with the guests, accepting compliments with a shy smile, she felt whole in a way she hadn't in years. Sophia, ever her cheerleader, raised a glass of wine in a toast. To Jennifer, the woman who painted her way through a storm and came out shining. Laughter rippled through the group, and Jennifer blushed, her heart full. Later, as the crowd thinned, Marco found her by her painting, his expression tender. "I've been thinking," he said, his voice low. "The villa needs a new co-director, someone with heart, vision, and a knack for spotting trouble." He grinned. "What do you say, Jen? Stay. Build this with me." Her breath caught, the offer both thrilling and daunting. Leaving her old life entirely meant stepping into the unknown. But as she looked into Marco's eyes, she saw a future worth risking everything for. "Yes," she said, her voice steady. "I'm in." Under the Tuscan sky, with the scent of lavender drifting on the breeze, Jennifer knew she'd found more than a second chance. She'd found a home, a purpose, and a love that had waited patiently for her return. 6 months later, the Tuscan hills bloomed with the vibrant hues of spring, their colors mirrored in the canvases that lined the villa's courtyard. Jennifer stood at the heart of it all, her hair streaked with a few new strands of silver, her hands stained with paint and purpose. The workshop had not only survived the scandal, but thrived, its reputation bolstered by stories of the artists who had faced betrayal and emerged stronger. Jennifer, now co-director alongside Marco, was no longer just a visitor, she was home. The morning's workshop buzzed with energy as new artists arrived, their faces bright with the same hope Jennifer had felt when she first stepped onto these grounds. She moved among them, offering gentle critiques and encouragement, her confidence a quiet glow. Her own art flourished too. Her latest series, inspired by the resilience of the villa's community, had caught the eye of a gallery in Florence. An exhibition was planned for the Fala milestone she once thought impossible. As the sun climbed higher, Jennifer slipped away to her favorite spot, a stone bench overlooking the vineyards, where the air carried the sweet scent of budding grapes. She pulled a small sketchbook from her pocket, its pages filled with studies of the landscape and of Marco, his laughter lines and steady hands captured in quick, tender strokes. Their love had grown slowly, rooted in trust, rebuilt day by day. It wasn't perfect, but it was real, and that was enough. "Thought I'd find you here," Marco's voice called, warm and familiar. She looked up, smiling as he settled beside her, his arm brushing hers. In his hand was a letter, its envelope crisp and official-looking. "What's that?" she asked, curiosity piqued. He grinned, handing it to her. "Open it." Jennifer tore it open, her eyes scanning the words. It was an invitation from the Florence Gallery, not just for her exhibition, but to lead a masterclass for emerging artists. Her heart swelled, a mix of pride and disbelief. "They want me?" she whispered. Marco chuckled, pulling her close. "Of course they do, Jen. The world's finally catching up to you." She leaned into him, the weight of his belief anchoring her. For so long, she'd seen herself as a woman defined by loss, her marriage, her career, her dreams. But here, in the golden light of Tuscany, she was whole, an artist, a partner, a woman who had painted her way through darkness to find joy. As they sat together, the villa alive with laughter and creativity behind them, Jennifer thought of Sophia, now teaching art in Rome, and the other artists who'd become family. She thought of Isabella, whose choices had led to a different path, and hoped she might one day find redemption. And she thought of her younger self, the one who'd almost given up, unaware of the strength waiting within. Marco pressed a kiss to her temple. "What's next for us, co-director?" Jennifer smiled, her gaze sweeping the horizon. "Everything," she said softly. "And this time, we'll paint it together." Under the endless Tuscan sky, Jennifer's canvas stretched wide, vibrant, unfinished, and brimming with possibility and unexpected romance abroad.